And I'll tell you, I'll start out just by telling you what the movie is about.
Okay.
We have a program for people who have herpes, to cure their herpes. And I have you in this movie partially because you've both cured herpes, and also partially because you know about other people who've cured herpes. And what I'm intending to do is try to get an overview in this movie that we're shooting of what people run into, like the pitfalls, problems, you know, the curveballs that they get thrown. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, like the things that, you know, make them think they're losing and they can't do it and stop them.
Yes.
Yeah? You're fine.
But yeah, there are pitfalls, there are setbacks, certainly. There have been in my experience.
I had one, recently when my friend died. I was just went into, sadness and, just sadness for about a week, and it just really triggered it.
Triggered your herpes?
Yes, I hadn't, I wasn't doing any Immunics, I just wasn't really practicing, and it just really triggered it. And I was surprised at first. What is this? I said, oh no.
Wow.
And then I got right back into doing Immunics again, and I just realized what had happened.
Huh.
Well,
Yes.
I'm not sure that you've got the whole story on that yet.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe we should start with that.
Okay.
And I see, because I just wanted everybody who's watching this to realize that what we're trying to give you, the person who's trying to cure your herpes. I'm not talking to you two guys now. I'm talking to the people watching this. We're trying to give you a reality on what it's actually like to cure herpes and what you're going to run into, like the things that are going to possibly stop you, drive you away, drive you back. And so what happened for you is your friend died of cancer.
Yes.
And you had started curing your herpes about, what, 4 months ago?
More than that.
Like 7?
Probably, what's March? March is, no, before March, yeah. Yeah, at least, yeah.
So that's like a year.
Oh, it's like almost a year. Yeah, almost a year.
And so you had been, and you hadn't been having any herpes outbreaks.
None.
So you had a year under your belt. This is sort of like Alcoholics Anonymous. See, and that's what people need to realize, is actually that it's one day at a time.
Correct.
Every day you cure your herpes. Every day you check yourself for it. Had you been finding it when you checked yourself?
No, I hadn't. In fact, it wasn't there.
For like weeks, months, maybe.
Months.
Okay. So then your friend, and you were trying to help your friend cure his cancer with this.
Well, I did mention it to him, and I really didn't get all that. I think some of it I felt bad because I felt I could have done more for him, but...
Okay, what happened was you mentioned it, and he said he wasn't interested, or he would sort of put you off.
Right.
And then he died.
Yeah.
And see, what happened, I'll tell you exactly what happened, and you can test this. That's what we should all be doing. Like when we are told something that we don't know is true or not, we should test it and let God tell us whether it's true or not. So I see you have your finger there, your hand is being held up there, and I want you to test, did your friend, did you go into agreement with your friend that he didn't have to try to cure his herpes himself?
You mean cancer?
I'm sorry, the cancer himself.
Did I go into agreement with him?
Yeah, did you let him get away with that? Did you? Yeah,
yes.
And so did he in some way convince you that he couldn't do it, or that it couldn't be done?
Well, I mean, in fairness to him, he had been trying to do other things. So, I mean, I'm sure he probably had his...
And they failed. All the other things failed.
Yeah, I mean, some things helped for him for a while, and then they did. In the end, they failed him. Yes.
This is the only cure.
Well, it's
There
the
is
one I've seen that
there
works.
is no other cure, and there's tons of things that help, and there are also things that people should do in addition to this to make the cure go more smoothly, because even when, I'm not talking about your friend now, okay?
Right.
I'm talking about somebody who is curing something. That cure can be a bumpy road. And so with cancer, I think that eating a diet, like doing a grape diet, for example, can make curing cancer go a lot more smoothly. With herpes, people don't need to do anything. There is, all you do is this and you cure your herpes. But that's the way it is with viruses. Like, I can be with somebody who has the flu, and I can eat a relatively toxic diet, and I still won't catch the flu. But that's a virus. See, the thing that we have the easiest time curing is viruses. Those are the easiest physical diseases to cure. So now, you were, as you watch them, in the week of somebody's death, the person is being swarmed by doctors. Yeah, is that accurate? Was there a lot of doctors around your friend? Was he in the hospital?
I really stopped, communicating with him. I felt like he just wanted to, I guess, be around his very close family and friends. And I don't know at what point, what he was doing with doctors at that point. I think he would kind of surrender to the fact that he was leaving.
So you sat back and you didn't talk to him, and then you heard he was dead.
Yes.
And that must have been crushing.
It did crush me.
And the reason is that you knew you could have cured it. He could have cured it.
Could have helped him more so than I did.
Well, the thing is that you couldn't cure it. That was a slip. When I said you could have cured it, you could not have cured his cancer. Nobody can cure somebody else of anything, though we do all the time. I've cured animals of things, and I can adjust somebody's back from the other side of the world and do a chiropractic adjustment on somebody. But basically, even with me curing them, they'll get it right back unless they cure themselves. And so your friend, you knew he could have cured it, and somehow you had this overwhelming sense of failure.
Yes.
And this convinced you of your own powerlessness.
Yes.
And that took down your immune system.
Absolutely.
So the bottom line is you're either curing them or they're curing you. You can't be silent. You cure them or they infect you. What do you say about this, Barb?
Oh, I was thinking about my friend Darren, similar situation. I agree that this kind of thing can take you down. I guess I was thinking about my own situation. It looks like you're on the other side of it already. I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I'm glad we're doing this. But I had a similar experience, and I hope this sounds appropriate, but I felt like I handled it well. Like I could have gone down really easily. I had a situation over Christmas where I had a cold sore after several months, over a year of being clear of that. But I kind of cleared it in just a day or two and saw something about it that last time. So then when Darren died, essentially, and Darren had been doing Immunics, and it was working for her, and she hung back, or she did variations. She chose to do variations, and I could have done more, like you said, or I could have pushed more. But actually, the truth was, I looked later, and I saw the point where she made that choice, and it was her choice, and I just let her have her choice. So it's not like I could. I think I tested that I did enough to create a critical mass.
I'll tell you that one of the things that it's coming down to for me is that we have to be absolutely brutally blunt with people and flat with them, and never, ever, ever pull any punches or hold anything back. And I mean, like 5 minutes before they're dead, just tell them they're full of shit.
Yeah, well, it was a similar thing where they wouldn't let me in. I think they had a intuition that's where I was coming from, and I was. Not that I would have said it that clearly, but like with Ron, they didn't really. She was kind of full of shit, and she knew it, but she knew that I knew it too.
And
So
yes, and the other side of that is we also have the right to walk away. We have the right to say, okay, I'm not going to help you anymore. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. But I don't need to go on with this. And we can go help somebody else. But see, to get back to Ron, and you did that. I mean, you did pretty, as you said, you did pretty well with all that. We'll get back to your cold sore in a minute that you were just telling us about, because that's something for our herpes sufferers to learn from. But see, to get back to Ron, what you did is you stopped communicating with your support group in the Immuners.
Yes.
Your support network. And people absolutely have to have a support network. Because, it's Gödel's principle that a system can't explain itself or apprehend itself. Like whatever it is that we're talking about can only be studied from outside. That is to say, other people are always going to know more about you than you know about yourself. Even, the stupidest person or your 3-year-old child or whoever it is, they're always going to know more about you. And and the thing is that people who are curing things, they cannot handle being around people who interfere with them curing things. And your friend, both of your friends who had cancer, also had a lot of people around them who interfered with them curing the cancer. And it diluted what you were trying to do. And in your case, Ron, your friend interfered with himself, yes?
I don't know.
Test it. Test it.
It's hard for me to accept that. But
test, did he interfere with himself?
Yes.
Okay. So, see, when you have trouble with something like that, just test it.
Right.
Because you could have gotten no, and then we could say, okay, let's rethink that. Who was interfering with him? And we could learn something. And, he's still there. You can still link your gravitational body with his, and you can still help him.
Yes.
And see, when you were in this trouble with him, that was the time that you should have been talking to us more. Like you should have been calling the other members of the cure team, whoever was around, like all day, whenever you had a break at work or something.
Well, it was a really good lesson for me.
Yeah, why?
That, that you guys are really great support, and that you're right there. I can call anybody anytime.
Right. And there's more of us all the time.
Yes.
And they always get something out of talking to you, too.
Appreciate that.
They do, because you're not saying much in this movie, but you're actually a big contributor. Like you really have a lot of important insights that you give people. And you're a good guy to work with. I've loved our conversations.
Immunics is really changed me and helped me so much, in just a very brief time. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and Barb's been doing this a long time. But for myself, it's just so happy that I connected with you guys and been able to make some changes in myself and really improve the quality of my life.
Yeah.
So and I share that with people. It's nice to be able to, the other day I worked with somebody who was sick for like 20 minutes and she felt so great. She says, I feel great. And she had like a horrible cold, horrible.
Right.
And in 20 minutes, she was ready to go dancing around. I was like, wow, this blew me away. Just being with somebody and showing them how to do something in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you cured her cold.
It was amazing.
Well, see, when we say, people need to understand that when I tell you cured her cold, what I'm really doing, obviously she cured her cold, yes, but you are responsible for that. And that's what all these people that are listening need to know, that you have a responsibility, that with cure comes responsibility.
Yeah.
You have the ability to respond to other people's needs. And if you fail to rise to that, then you're going to get sick. Like if you disown your responsibility, you lose your ability to cure, because that is your ability to cure. That responsibility is your ability to cure things.
That's true.
That's what it is.
I mentioned it once in one of the things I shared on Facebook, and that is like it's a pay it forward. You know, it's every day. It's kind of like a little bit of a pay it forward when we do this. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying somewhere that, you know, the person who's coming into these programs, they actually can't. The money they give is really is a donation, because they can't pay for it because somebody else already paid for them.
Right.
You know, that's how come they got it, because somebody paid for it.
Right.
You know, so what they can do is they can pay for somebody else. That's the definition of a donation. Anyway, to get back to your herpes, Barb, you have an interesting career with herpes, because you cured your herpes in 1994. Not even a year after I did. You used to work for me back then. You were one of my full-time employees, and then in 2006 you got a negative medical test. You had never thought to have a medical test before then. You also had Epstein-Barr, and you got a negative medical test at the same time on that. And then you recontracted the herpes at some point within the last few years, and possibly didn't know it or know exactly when it happened, because you were keeping yourself immune. But then you had this, as you said, you got a cold sore. And so tell us what bring us up to date from there. Like what happened when you got that cold sore? Was it like a year ago, did you say?
No, it was just a few months ago.
A few months ago, okay. So what happened?
It had happened once before, to be clear. I have never had some of the cases of herpes that you guys talk about. It wasn't like constant outbreaks. It was one time in '94, which scared me enough to take heed, so I cured it, meaning that it didn't come back for like a year, then 2 years, and then in 2006 I did get that test to confirm that. And then just a couple of years ago, actually, I think you happened to video me the next day about herpes, and I had one.
Oh.
Very embarrassing. I mean, yeah, I remember, because...
yeah, we were talking about you curing your herpes and you had a cold sore.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Jane Fonda thing when she fell in the airport, because then it happened again. I was supposed to meet a woman up at the hot springs here to discuss Immunics and curing her herpes, and the day before I got a cold sore. So it's obviously something related to how I handle my stress or don't handle it. But then there were
now again, I don't think you quite have it.
That wasn't really stress.
When you're talking about stress, I don't know if it's stress. I think that I want you to test something. Okay, just hold your hand up too so we can see it. Is it arrogance?
Arrogance, yes. I was doing a lot of things and eating a lot of, just behaving ways that wasn't, consistent with someone who was.
I think that when that you are using, at this point, you've used herpes as an alarm bell that you're being arrogant.
True.
And it's a safer way of bringing yourself up short than what the other kinds of trouble you can get into. Now, you have to go 2 years without an outbreak to have it completely out of your body.
So it's been now another 4 months. So that means I have 16 more months to go.
And maybe longer, maybe shorter. But I wanted to tell a story about Dina, who's one of my Facebook friends, Dina Lattimore. You guys know her, right? And she didn't have an outbreak for years, and way more than 2 years. And then she had a herpes outbreak. Now, I don't know all the details, so one possibility is simply that she had sex with another infected partner. However, I do have another theory that, I think you have to go 2 years without the herpes getting into your physical body, and I think it has to, even if it gets into your physical body and it's too small to notice, I think sometimes people have like the beginnings of an outbreak, or they have something where it was starting, and then they just do their regular Immunics and it takes it out, and they never notice it was coming. And I think that starts the 2-year clock again. So you really have to have it where it doesn't get into your physical body at all for 2 years. If you have to find it while it's still in your gravitational or spiral or one of the other bodies, and you have to take it out there, and then you can. And also, I think that people get negative medical tests, and they still have it.
Wow.
Because they test for it when they're doing the finger testing, like you were just demonstrating the finger testing. They test that they've got herpes after their negative medical test.
Wow.
Like whenever somebody tells me they've had a negative medical test, I often say, a whole bunch of times I've said, test that you've got herpes, and a bunch of times I've seen people get signals.
Wow.
So, also I was thinking about Meredith, who, I wanted to have these people in this movie, but then I just realized, gosh, it'd be like way harder to hook up so many people. That's why I just decided to have just you two. And I figured we could just tell people's stories. And Meredith was born with herpes, but never had an outbreak until she was 62.
What?
About it was probably a few months ago.
How did you know
She got I don't know exactly what it looked like, but she told me she had a herpes outbreak, and she said she knew her mother had it, and she's a nurse, so she always figured she had it. And she's been doing Immunics for like 15 years and has cured 1 million things.
And she still got an outbreak.
Yeah, you have to directly cure the herpes. Curing other things doesn't help it.
She wasn't testing for it.
She wasn't. I don't think she ever asked about it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden she had an outbreak. And besides, even if she had asked, suppose she asked and there wasn't any there that day. This is it's a real goal to keep ourselves, in a very free of disease place, and also to confront head on other people's density when it comes to curing the things that threaten their lives, people that we care about, like people who we love.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Well, first it's you got to be on guard for yourself, and then do what you can for people that you love.
Yep. What do you say, Barb? You have any more thoughts coming about this? What are people going to run into with?
Such voice in the back of my head. One of my best friends. Oh, Barb, everybody's going to die. But when you just said, Ron, it's true. That's the hallmark of a good immuner, and I haven't been that way with people because I've almost had the approach where, so maybe I haven't cured my chronic fatigue, but where I'm like, okay, I don't want to work hard. I don't want to push people. I don't want to do the work sometimes. It's sort of like the live and let live attitude I've had with people. So that is a slight arrogance. Maybe I wanted them people to have that with me too.
Well, to test this question, am I still hosting the Epstein-Barr virus?
No.
You did cure it and get a negative medical test years ago, and also I've actually never noticed any symptoms of chronic fatigue in you over the past 12 years. But you are generally, I think you're a master, Barb.
I was going to say, I'm I'm a master of fatigue.
Masters. Masters don't like working hard. That's why I think that's why you don't want to work hard, because they don't. You know, they're laid back.
I'm showing you my Buddha here. This is my friend Maury's house, Ron.
Yeah.
Yes, well.
Well, you know what you were saying about everybody dies. Like everybody has that voice in the back of their head. And it's like that voice that's telling them, give up. What's the difference? You're going to die anyway. You know, you might as well just lay down and let it run over you.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, we can have a pretty great life.
That's what I think too. I mean, that voice actually kind of has manifested. I have a friend of mine who is that voice, because I've never really had that. I mean, the closest I've come is this particular friend who says that kind of thing. And I agree with you. Like, I think with just a little more work, people could have a really nice life. We all could. You know?
Yeah, like I feel bad when I'm sick, and I feel good when I'm not.
Yeah, I feel bad when I'm around sick people. I don't think it's fun. It's not the most fun thing to do.
Unless they're curing it.
Yeah, when they're curing it, I'll stay forever. But it's a whole different energy, you know? It's a whole different kind of person.
Well, what do you say, Ron?
Sometimes I get tired of hearing people are sick because I wish they weren't. And I just feel, as one person, I can only do so much, but as a group that we are, we can do a lot. And I think our group is pretty strong. And we're doing a pretty good job overall to communicating this message about Immunics and getting the message out to them that they can really get well, and their families can get well, their communities can get well. So it just takes a little bit of time to learn a skill that they can do every day, and it really can make our whole world so much better.
Well, you know, I got a call the other day from Reggie. And I had been thinking about him for several days and thinking we should call Reggie and chat with him, find out how he's doing. And he called me thanking me for everything that I've been doing. And, you know, he's very grateful. And, you know, he has not completely stopped his herpes outbreaks. So he is not on the road to, like, his 2-year, you know, eradication deadline. You know, he's been falling off the wagon and climbing back on it, and he has a lot of immune dysfunctions that we haven't worked with. And personally, I think Reggie is somebody who I feel like I can help, and I'm planning to call him and offer to help him.
Great.
That's the idea. I think that we should evaluate people carefully and see who seems to us like they're able to accept help and that they'll make the most of it. And we should give our support to those people.
I agree.
What do you think about that, Barb?
I'm with you on that one, Craig. That goes for me. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when someone wants to cure things, it's so fun to be with them. It doesn't matter what shape they're in to begin with. When they're sincere and committed, you know, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm into. It's fun.
Funny thing, isn't it? Like a person can be a mess and they can be absolutely a joy to help. And then somebody can be in pretty good shape and have all their whole life in order and in place. And you just don't, you know, you just can't help them. Because they're not accepting it.
Yeah, I mean, if I could talk about Al here for a second, because now he's coming to mind. Because when people are playing, they're really blessed. But the minute they stop, though, I mean, then, you know, that's people's prerogative to stop or cut you off, cut me off, that kind of stuff. And you know.
Yeah, you tried to help Al, and he rejected you.
And I think that's our job with each other, is just find a place, and hopefully there's not a place where the person stops. Like, go as far as you can go.
Al still feels like he's helping himself, and he's still doing Immunics. And so you and Al had a disagreement, but just from your standpoint, what you and me and we all have to do is we have to be detached. We have to care passionately and be completely detached. That's the deal. And only then, when somebody, let's say, who has cancer and they're surrounded by their family, you know, and you feel like just saying, come on, like, just take it out, like, cut the crap, you know, like, you know, have you test that? Test what he just said, you know, is that right? And you know, and you feel like saying that, and you have to be detached to say that. And then if they throw you out of the hospital room, you have to stay detached and go help somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I was remembering the sermon you gave at one of the prayer meetings recently that'll talk about how important it is to be around people who empower you to, you know, to feel like a winner, where you feel like you're winning with them. That you're,
that's right.
And I've been noticing that in my life lately. How just and it doesn't mean, you know, it's just a choice. It's just a nice choice, and got me to realize what a charmed life I lead. But I have to keep choosing now, because to stay inside of that space with for myself with the right people and the right situations, so that I can keep moving forward. Because it's a lot of inertia. It's a lot of drag.
Well, Ron, what she's saying right now, like, what do you think what she's saying has to do with curing herpes?
Well, Barbara's talking about being around the right people. I think people that are committed to wanting to cure it is the first thing. And then, like, Immunics offers a way for people to absolutely cure it.
But suppose you've got herpes and you want to cure it. Like, how does being around the right people help you cure it?
Well, they help me to focus on asking the right questions, and you know, if there's some issue that's going on with me that I'm not aware of, a lot of times they can see it or help me to see it.
And what about being around the wrong people?
Well, you know, that's not going to help me at all. Not going to help me focus, and not going to get me cured.
Do you think it might get you sicker?
Sure.
Why? How?
Well, my case in point was just that. I just basically, you know, kind of fell off the wagon, and I just didn't really practice at all, and it got me sick. So I think that's, you know, my own experience taught me that right away.
You know, you guys are familiar with that phenomenon where when women live in a tribe, they have their menstrual cycles coordinate.
Heard of that?
You've heard about that. Well, everybody, like, resonates with the people around them. And if you're around a bunch of people who think you can't cure something, unless you are very strong and on your toes every second, you're just going to resonate with them. And in no way can you agree with them, and it makes it very scratchy and bumpy to be with them. Like, they say, hey, let's all pile in the car and go to Epcot, and you're saying, I can't do that. You know, I've got to, I got to take care of myself. I have this whole schedule of things I do for myself all day. And they're just like, what are you crazy? You know, you can never do anything.
Then I found myself with a group of those kind of people the other night, but in my mind, I was saying, well, these are my old friends, you know, I ought to hang out with my friends, you know, I can't be rude. And so I had to take it, it's almost like training, and I could feel it. I could feel the barrage. At least I was able to excuse myself at the right time. And they actually really are good people. I mean, you know, we love each other. And
oh, yeah. All your friends are great.
Yeah, they were like, oh, Alexa's held over Carly. Yeah, they're really great. And they love me too. But it's like, wow, just the energy. I don't need that. It's good training, but I don't really need to be around it all night.
I know. I like Alexa too, you know.
Yeah.
She's a good egg.
She's a good egg.
You know? I tell you, like, the times when I've done well with Alexa and her other friends are when they came to my house, to my dinner party. Yes. And, you know, that was good for me.
Yeah, it's better to have.
So there's always a way of doing things, you know, that is right for you.
Totally. Control. Learning about boundaries and all that.
Yes.
It's a good It's a good skill.
Well, herpes guys, a lot of times I notice they have problems with their boundaries.
Yeah, no, it's true. They're being able to say no.
They don't feel like they have any right to be sick. Like they don't want anybody to know they have herpes. Like they won't stand up for their rights. You know, do you know what I'm talking about? Like you have a right to have a disease. You have a right to be sick. You have a right to have a disease and to cure it and to get help for it and for, you know, for the government to pay for your cure if that's necessary or whatever it is.
I believe that.
What are your thoughts on this?
I'm feeling bad. Definitely doing better with my boundaries and standing up for myself. I'll tell you that.
Uh-huh.
So that's I'm happy about that.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot to that.
Barb, you got anything to?
Well, I feel an overwhelming feeling of sadness a little bit. It's all rings true. I think I'm sort of on the bottom of, you know, where I can't, you know, I had to change. So it's become an interesting, it's like an interesting study, like how to stay immune. So, I mean, I really don't get sick other than those two incidences and one kind of bad food combining incident. I haven't been sick for, like, you know, many, many years, like in terms of
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Wow.
And although the depth of my, you know, lack of boundaries and, you know, the amount of just mistreatment I will take from myself or others has been really vast. So that sounds interesting that I would manifest herpes.
I'll tell you, like a bottom line, see, people have to cure their spiritual illnesses to cure their herpes.
Mm-hmm.
And see, you're more powerful than most of the people you know. And that makes you sad. And
Yeah.
I've watched that, and I've like how you don't want to be that, and you go into denial about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a spiritual illness. And that compromises your immune system. Maybe you never would have come down with any cold sores had you attacked in a timely manner, proactively, the spiritual aspects of your life before it turned into a physical manifestation and embarrassing, you know, undermining, because it undermines you.
It does. Yeah, it has. That's for sure. People have used it to. Yeah, it's definitely my weak spot.
You have used it to undermine you.
I was embarrassed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Shocked. I was shocked by it. You know, I'm so into cleanliness, so it was like so ironic. Sure brought pleasure to my detractors. Yeah. And yeah, and I could, you know, I've tolerated so much other, you know, physical pain and so forth, but yeah, and it was so physical too. I'm into my appearance, like to have something like that on my face. You know, you can't hide that.
Right.
I mean, I notice a lot of people do. A lot of people don't care. The other day, I don't know, I had a date with someone once, and I'm like, "What? Why did you make a date for tonight? You know, you have this huge thing on your face." He's like, "Oh, what? Really?" Like, like, whoa. No. So I can't. Sometimes I can't imagine how society sticks together at all. That people are sicker more sick than they really are.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Even so, yeah, it was ironic. Even Chrissy was telling me a story about it back when, in the 80s, when people were just so free, they didn't think about it. Like someone could have herpes all over their chest. Apparently, somebody had, and they'd be still having sex. And
those are shingles.
yeah, shingles. And so it's so ironic, because I have been like extremely careful. I mean, I've lived in a refugee camp in my life and didn't get sick. And so when I got that. Yeah, so I took it seriously, and I took all this kind of study seriously, because I knew it wasn't physical. I knew it wasn't like the germ theory totally. It was like a way that I am, or a way that I respond in, and not responding.
Now wait a minute. When you say a refugee camp, you're talking about the one by the Cambodian border that you used to live in, and you were volunteering in Thailand, right?
Yeah, I was a teacher, but not on the border. It was on the southern border.
I see.
But the sanitation was terrible, and it's amazing that I realized I never got sick there ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat and ate and drank and everything with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more energetic. We're here where I'm under more attack by myself and others and different challenges. And the stress of it, like the stress of wanting to look good, it is kind of ironic that it would manifest like that for me.
Well, you haven't had any outbreak in 4 months. You're keeping it out every day, right?
I think I kind of got it this time. That last one was really...
You're watching carefully.
Yeah.
You're being careful.
I am.
Okay, so...
Be more gentle.
Then you can attack another...
I was eating bad chocolate. I wasn't eating shosai that much. I did an experiment. It's true what they say. Raw chocolate is the only one to be eating.
That's true.
Raw cacao with no shells. Yeah.
That's true. Well, you can attack another problem, then, and just keep yourself spiritually high.
Okay.
And be a teacher. You're bigger and stronger than the people around you, and so be supportive of them and express that.
Yeah, I do my best.
Be honorable and honest with everybody.
It's difficult to be really tactful too, like to be polite.
Don't be tactful. That's very hard.
It is.
It's okay. You don't have to be tactful. You can let them fail. Because all the if you're untactful, your punishment is they die of cancer.
Yeah. Well, this is where
you just need to learn to live with that, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, the boundary issues come in important here too. Like if I choose my shot, so to speak, or choose my situations, I'm less resentful or less, I know what I'm getting into. But if I feel like I'm kind of being held hostage by someone or in a situation that and then I can't be myself, or I don't feel easy to say what I see, then it can be, I'll get sick or I'll just feel uncomfortable.
Well, when you say you get sick, because you never get the flu, and you've had two herpes outbreaks in 20 years, so...
Now mine will manifest like I'll get angry or something, like just before I came here.
So in other words, when you say you get sick, what it means is you get angry.
Yeah, I'll have a moment of not feeling happy or enlightened or fun.
That's sick.
Fun.
You're right. You get spiritually sick.
Yeah, so my goal is 24-hour fun and happiness.
If you find yourself being angry, find a question to test.
Yeah.
Test something and come out of it.
Yeah, I've gotten better at that. That's true. Thank you.
And Ron, before we stop, do you have any final words?
These are the final words. No, I don't have anything else right now. It was interesting. This is what's the first time I made a movie with you guys, and
really,
yeah. I was in another one. But this was the first time I did one just with Barb. And
this is really more like your movie. This is a movie of you. Because there aren't like 5 other people in it.
Yeah, Barb and I share top billing.
That's right. That's right. America's sweethearts.
Don't forget, Ron, you're more powerful than all your friends.
Well, that's the thing, is your friends can't see you, but you can see them.
You said that the other day too, and I have to say that's true, and I'm starting to notice that. That can be very unsettling. I've never noticed that before in my whole career. I worked, and I've known Byron 25 years almost, but just recently I'm going through that period where suddenly I realized, most people don't see me at all. I don't mean just get me, but they don't almost see, they don't perceive. And it's okay. I just have to be okay with that. First it felt kind of like, wow, I felt out of balance. Like I had nothing to bounce, I had nothing to bounce off of. I thought something and that wasn't true. But then I had to be in it. That was like a what do you call it, on a virtual reality, but a field of truth. It's like a field of truth had ended.
Yes.
And so now that was just a couple weeks ago that happened too. So it's kind of like ratcheting up or changing gears and just like walking around and doing it, like making it up from nothing all the time.
Right.
just responding from people. It's good. It's a different challenge. It's kind of like a very alone feeling, except, but that's where the power comes from too, and that's why it's probably important that I have. I was just saying the other day how grateful I was to have friends like you.
We have to be comfortable being alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that Mayor Baba quote that says, like, when you're very happy, Baba wants you to be happy, and if you're feeling sad, that's because, like like there's something to be learned from feeling sad.
Right.
So same with being alone, I think. Like I ought to be really just enjoy this time, because someday I'll be very grateful. And I'm starting to just see the value of learning how to be alone.
Well, you know what Franny's sister said was that, she had a boyfriend or husband every day of her life since she was 12 years old.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then her husband died, and at first she was devastated for a couple of years, and she was calling Franny and crying for hours, and she was, felt bereft. And then after a while she started to say, well, it was interesting because I went to the movies and I didn't have to keep calling home to make sure he was okay. Because he was a paraplegic, and that there were servants taking care of him 24 hours, sitting there watching him, and that she kept calling the servants and finding out how's he doing, is there, just to make sure that they didn't fall asleep or something, and like let him slide off the bed. So
Jeez,
yeah,
that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, she was, but she said it was very interesting. And she just started doing a whole bunch of other things and threw herself into her charity work. And she's a famous person now. She was on the cover of Town and Country magazine. She was Woman of the Year. She just took off with her. She built schools in the third world.
That'd be fun.
Yep. You like the third world. I do too.
I like schools and things like, I think people are really happy when they're learning stuff. That's my experience. People love to learn. It cheers them up, and they get healthier and they feel good about themselves. It's fun. People like to be together like what we're doing. And you can do that in the third world, not so.
Her Christmas card was her sitting on the floor with the kids.
Yeah.
She built a high school too. They started out with a preschool.
Yeah.
And they built this whole series of schools. Now they're building a trade school.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. I'm so glad we did this, and thank you so much, both of you. It's been a real pleasure to be with you. You're great.
Thank you.
You're heroic. There are very few people. You have to realize that things that almost. Like there's 7 billion people in the world who don't know what you know or do what you do. They don't know it's even possible.
Wow.
So you're very, very special and exceptional people.
We're chipping away a little bit at a time.
Yeah, we are. Chipping away, telling a person here or there.
Right.
One little person at a time. Well, all right, I guess I'll shut the camera off.